Hi everyone, how you guys doing? Just made a long ass video, my friends. It's 45 minutes long. But I have a lot to go into. The document is 700 pages long that we'll go into. I'll let some friends come in here. I'll give everyone a couple minutes to jump on in here. I'm gonna go hit this bong real quick, my friends. Give me like 2 minutes and then we'll go over some stuff. I got quite a bit of stuff to show you guys. We're gonna go ahead and talk about some okay, I'll be right back. I'll show you guys. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of stuff. I'll be right back, guys. Alrighty. How is everybody doing today? Just chat here real quick before I start going into stuff. When's it gonna squeeze, man? I don't know, dude. I don't know how much longer this world can push this stuff off. Stuff's gonna start collapsing here pretty freaking quick, I feel like. This video that I'm posting right now, it's got a ton of information on it. Still got a while to post, but so I'll just start talking to some stuff here. If everybody's ready quick, I'll just go into stuff. Let's train it. I honestly don't know. All right. So first thing we're gonna talk about quick. We'll go over what I was going through in this video. This. Okay. So in 2008, I'm sure everybody in here has seen The Big Short. I'm sure you guys all know what happened with the CDOs and the synthetic CDOs. Well, I was looking at some of these documents and just looking back at all that stuff to see what they did now or what they're doing now that's different, and see how they evolved, how they grew, how they changed, themselves to get around regulations, because obviously, just like everyone else, dude, they're going to evolve and grow too. So, thank you, Freeze. But you can see over here, I'm going to show you this guys first. So, back in 2008, these guys were able to migrate a lot of this risk because they had these insurance companies, and these two insurance companies in 2008 on top of the CDOs actually ended up falling. And these were one of the reasons why a lot of these so much money was lost in these credit default swaps. Is these insurance companies, as you guys can see back in the day, they were over leveraged at the time of 2008. Now think about this. At 2008, these are your bank's leverage, right? You have 12 to 1. And these guys went under, okay? You have banks nowadays, like Goldman and Sachs, JP Morgan, they're leveraged 196 to 1. Think about that, you guys. So as you're looking over at the other side, I wanted to just to show everybody an example of that. Now these banks are looking at like this type of leverage, where they're at 6.8 billion, 635 billion in credit exposure. Now look at that. In what world is that okay? So if you guys think about this back then, if Citigroup and these banks were only looking like this, 12-1, can you imagine what they are looking at 196-1? If you look at the derivatives market now as well, you're up to $612 trillion at the end of June 2021. Well, can you guys imagine what it's at now? Like, it's insane how much money. I mean, think about this. And then I showed you guys the other week. 70% of this is interest rate swaps. Now, one of the things I want you guys to understand, this is why I tell you guys every day right here, this is the most important thing I'm going to show you out of all this. So I tell you guys to protect your money. This is why I say get out of all these stupid things, these banks, these ISDA, all this crap. Because when this falls, it's going to fall hard for the United States. Now, when you guys look back at 2008, we had, these are the CDOs. Now, when these CDOs were made, they took those mortgage-backed securities and they go, well, these aren't going to fail, right? So what they ended up doing is putting them, packaging together, repackaging them, selling them again into credit default swaps. Well, the way that they're looking at it nowadays is instead of it like this, look at it this way. Well, the stock market, these stocks are too big to fail. Why are they too big to fail? Because guess what? They controlled the stock market prices. They could short people to the ground, bash them up, do whatever they wanted, make synthetics. They controlled this. So they were looking over at it like, all right, these are too big to fail. So it's basically like the same exact thing. You had the bad tranches, and if you come over here, you look at it the same way. Now, you had these people that weren't going to fail, okay? Why? They're the mortgage backed with high interest rates. They had the best pay. So these guys aren't going to go down. Well, if you look over here, look at it this way. So this, I'm just trying to make an example. Obviously, they're not the same thing, but it's in the same sense. They've evolved their game. Now, the DTCC has the real shares. How do we know that? Because they're able to print them off in the CNS program and make synthetic shares. So you basically have the DTCC at the top. You have ISDA contracts. And why are they number 2? Because if you look at ISDA, that's the banks once again, and that's them writing shares to market makers, and that's them writing shares across the nation and all sorts of stuff when they shouldn't have shares. And then after that, you got the CNS program. Well, who's in charge of that? Once again, the DTCC. So once again, it's the bankers, the people that blew everything up in 2008. Well, what are they doing? But now making these, the lower one, trenches, they're making them retail. And guess what? They do this. Why? These people down here, guess what? They're on margin. These are your guys on margin. These are your guys on margin. Well, these are your guys on cash orders. These are your guys on cash accounts. These are your guys on cash accounts. Why? Because they're cash payment. They have to be paid back. They're not margin. They're not borrowing anything. But that's the way you want to look at it. So these are your margin accounts. These are your cash accounts. And then you got the real shares from them that are able to all provide these shares. So that's pretty much how you're looking at 2008 now. You went from mortgage-backed securities to stock-backed securities. Well, if you guys look back in 2008, there was a... Where the fuck is it? 2 seconds. I'd wait too many. Give me seconds to one of these. Okay. I must have closed it. Classic. I can't remember where I put it. Never mind. I don't know. Whatever. I'm not gonna keep worrying about that. What the hell was I just talking about? Give me 1 second here. Either way, we're gonna move. Oh yeah, so that's how they evolved from the 2008. Like I said, they went to the that. Now, if you guys look over here, I'm gonna show you guys how they evolved in 2008 to today as well. So we'll just look at this little graph here. And so in 2008, you had hedge funds. Well, hedge funds, they ended up making the Dodd-Frank Act. So what did they do? They evolved into family offices, which there's now $7.6 trillion. There's only $3.8 trillion in hedge funds. So that's how they evolved. the credit default CDOs and the synthetic CDOs. We just went over that over here. They did them with synthetic shares now. Same thing, new look. Look over here again. The derivatives. Well, what they ended up doing now for the replacement of those, they still have the derivatives, but now they also made CNS programmed, which you guys is the biggest joke in the world. It's called netting. If you guys want to look up the term netting, it's when a whole bunch of people basically come together, they put it all into one big vault, and they're able to pull from this vault. Well, the problem is that DTCC is in control of that, and they have all the shares. Well, they're able to come into the CNS program, and they can say, I need this, and this. And they're only short one total position, and it's the net position of that. So they're not short like, oh, you're short this much, this much, this much, and this much. It's a net total amount. It's open to one long position. And on top of that, it gives market makers exclusions to where they can hold short positions even longer. So what else did they do? The banks still are self-regulating. They're still in control of everything, as we went over, the DTCC. But then what they ended up doing on top of 2008, they added the OTC market. And then they added payment for order flow to make it even more worse in 2008. So like I said, this crisis is going to be 2008 on steroids. You have inflation at 3.4 in 2008. It was at 7.5. Already at the start of this year, they still want to do hikes. So, like I said, this is insane what is going to happen. And on top of that, we'll go over this real quick. Let's delete all this fucking extra. Let's do this. So, you guys gotta think of the United States now, okay? This is what I keep telling you. So, on top of all that, now, if you guys haven't seen this, it's called a CDS. There's actually what we call naked credit default swaps. If you guys come down here and look at what's the difference, advantages of a naked credit default swap, here you go, guys. A naked CDS is the derivative equivalent of a short sell. Yes, you heard that right. So now, instead of being able to do that, God, these guys are ridiculous. So instead of learning with the synthetic CDOs, they made synthetic credit default swaps. So that is how they advanced it over here. So now you have synthetic CDOs on this side. You have synthetic, again, credit default swaps instead over here. So as you guys can see, you guys seeing the similarities of 2008? Said they've literally just modified their shit. It's the same stuff, but they got a little smarter. So it's like, okay. And then one of the things I wanted to show you guys here too. So if you look over here, they wanted to ban. They actually had a complete ban on naked credit default swaps for a while, and of course that got removed. God forbid you would keep that. But so one of the things I want to show everybody too was these repo loans in these banks in the Federal Reserve. Well, if you guys come and look at this here, it talks about these repo loans, because if you look at 2008, the repo market was a huge problem, and they were actually propping up and putting in trillions of dollars into the market through these repo bonds, as we're now seeing it now, as you guys are seeing every single day. There's 1.7 trillion, 1.7 trillion. Well, if you guys look over here, remember, these are mortgage-backed securities, right? So these CDOs, think about this, guys. You got these CDOs here, mortgage-backed securities. Now, this post should scare the fuck out of you. In 2006, the Fed owned 0 mortgages. Now the Feds hold about 2.6 trillion in mortgage-backed securities on its balance sheet. Okay, 24% of that is outstanding residential mortgages. Well, think about if that fails. Now you got the United States with this stuff that could fail, these bonds, because guess what? We're in a pandemic right now. What's going to happen if a crash happens on top of the pandemic? Now you have the United States on hook for all of this money. That's something that we should not be having. Well, if you look over here, I want to show you guys this with the Federal Reserve. Okay, so if you come over here, you got 2019, 2000, whatever, blah, blah, blah. The trading units of Wall Street mega banks took an accumulative total of 11.23 trillion in emergency repo loans from the Federal Reserve. That was in 1 year. The loans were conducted by the 12 federal banks, blah, 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 which is literally owned by the mega banks. JP Morgan, Chase, Goldman, Citi, Morgan, and all the other people. Well, think about that. So these clowns, everyone who's doing the problem, the people that are making this whole freaking mess, are in charge of the Federal Reserve. And now watch this. If you come look at this, they got an exclusion here. Where is it? There's a loophole here. Where's that? It's alright. There's a loophole here. God damn it. I don't think it's this one. Hold on. Yeah, here it is. Okay, here you go. So with these treasury and these bonds here, right? Or yeah, these treasury bonds. So there's a couple loopholes here that they could do, and these loopholes were basically done by guess who? Goldman and Sachs in particular. And Goldman Sachs was one of the hugest problems in all of this. 1 second here. The hell was it? So one of the things that they wanted to do here is, if you guys look, they ended up doing the Too Big to Fail. Okay, it's the Too Big to Fail Act. Congress tried in 1991, passing the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation Act, which sought to curb the use of taxpayers' funds to rescue failing depository institutions. Mandated that federal regulators must intervene early when a bank or thrift get in trouble, blah, 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 okay? Now watch that. So that's like the big thing. You guys better get in there and check this out, blah, blah, blah. Now watch how funny this shit is, okay? Now, I'll go back to that same article I was just reading you guys, okay? Now, let's go to the next sentence. This is hilarious. The New York Fed is also, so we're just talking about the guys that have that loophole at the Federal Reserve, okay? The people who are still writing the instant contracts, the people that are leveraged 196 to 1. The New York Fed is, as I just said in another article, the New York Fed is responsible for sending its bank examiners into these same banks to make sure they aren't plotting some evil scheme that will bring down the U.S. economy, as they did in the derivatives subprime debt bombs in 2008, okay? Unfortunately, if a New York Fed examiner doesn't listen to the relationship manager at the New York Fed and insists on giving a negative review of a mega bank, she can find herself fired, as New York Fed examiner and attorney Carmen Saraga found when she went up against Goldman Sachs. So they literally, if you guys are like, all right, so if they go ahead and show proof that these guys are actually doing this problem in the derivatives market, guess what? They just get fired. Like, this shit's crazy, dude. And you guys are, I mean, think about how much money they've already used in the repos. How many trillions have been pumped into the repos. And as I was showing you guys with this, so as you guys can see, these mortgage-backed securities, all this money, well, look at that. So if all that fails, guess what? 9 trillion is on their balance sheet, you guys. Well, 9 trillion, 2.6 trillion that suddenly is mortgage-backed securities that they had to buy from these banks and bail the banks out. You see what I mean? It's they've already did their mini bailout that they did in 2008, and it didn't do anything. So what's going to happen when, dude, this is over? Like I said, you can't just keep making this higher, and you cannot sit there. The one problem that they had before, at least before, they could get away with this. Because why? We didn't have the access to this information. So not only did we not have access to this information, if we found it out, you were just labeled conspiracy theorist by all the media and everything else, and then they would just slander you. Or, if you guys communicated with each other, guess what? That's market manipulation. They're going to charge you with the crime. Think about this. Why does this work right here? Why is this their new mortgage-backed security? Because retail can never find out the answer. Retail will never know how many shares are truly in existence, and they control the price. So they literally thought that they thought that the stock market, these stock securities, were better than even than the CDOs were in 2008. But the problem is like I said, we figured it out. We're buying and holding. We're not spreading ourselves thin anymore. So think about it. If we're all spread thin, playing all these other stocks or playing all these other plays, it's so much easier for them to just lower stuff, lower this, lower that, and you guys just naturally think it went down. But if everybody's holding the same thing and you go, how can we all buy the same stock for 3 straight years, nonstop, and it never runs out of shares? What's going on? Eventually, there's got to be an answer. Like I said, Paul can't keep sitting there talking about how, eventually people are going to go nuts. So, like I said, make sure you guys protect yourself, because this economy is set to collapse. It's 2008 on steroids. It's CDSs instead of CDOs. You can't have a naked credit default swap. What are we doing? Like, what is this world? And now, like I was saying, man, people sit there and call people socialists if you go, a CEO should have his how much he can make kind of capped out too, in a sense. But yet we have what it's called hour or salary jobs, where your salary is capped. It doesn't matter how much you work. You get to come work overtime. And guess what? I've worked salary jobs a lot. You work overtime all the time, but it doesn't matter. Your salary is capped. But yet you say one thing about a CEO, they shouldn't be able to make $35 million bonuses. There's only so much money, you guys. Think about this. This is what people don't, get it through your guys' head. There's only so much money in the world. People aren't socialists because they say that, these guys shouldn't be able to have that much of the wealth. They say it because there's only so much money in the frickin' world. The only other choices is to what? Print out more money. And that, again, makes everything worth way less. And then everybody complains about that, and then you got inflation. Like I said, this system is designed right now to fail. Let's go ahead and show you guys. All right. Do a little sketch pad drawing. Pop this bad boy. All right. This is the United States. About that, I'd say probably. About like this. About like that. That's probably the United States. We'll do it in like the 1950s. No, I'm not even do the 50s. We'll do like the 70s, okay? Now, this is your middle. That's your lower. And that's your high class. Okay? Now, we found out, so from here to today, this has been siphoning from this. Not only has it been siphoning from this, it's been siphoning even from this. So even this got smaller. Now, today's economy probably looks like this. I didn't think it'd be that big. I just draw a fucking line. There. Alright. So here's your 1%. Here's your middle. And here's your lower class. Okay. Now, these guys who have all the money are hoarding it, okay? They're holding on to it. They're putting it in their bank account. What else are they doing? They're showing that shit offshores. They're throwing it into the Cayman Islands to not pay taxes. They're fucking buying this, that. Whatever they can do to not, they got to get their bank account higher than their boyfriend over here. So, that's all they compare is numbers in the account, because that's all that matters. So, they've been paying all that. Well, now you have all this tax money they should have been paying. Guess what? That's going to go down to these guys now. Well, you got inflation going up. Okay, so now inflation, who's that hurt? It hurts these people. Well, these guys can't spend money now, and now what you're doing is you're killing this. You're destroying this right now. And you're putting that over to here. Now, these people are what put money back into the economy here. Okay, here's your big old economy. Well, these guys have obviously a limited piece of pie to put back into this. Why? Because they're getting smashed everywhere else. wages aren't going up because everybody complained when somebody wanted $15 an hour because that's not fair. People that work minimum wage jobs can't have a living or save for the period. You know what I mean? So we had to complain about that. So by doing that, the rest of jobs didn't go up because if you raise minimum wage, you guess what? You raise the entire world's wage because every job you can go up and say, I want more money because the minimum job fucking wage just went up. Sex as simple. But they got us brainwashed to complain about that, so that didn't happen till now. Well, so what's going on over here is they're still... The way the economy's set up is you have your banks. Well, they're only giving you, what, 1% interest to put money in their bank with them? Well, guess what they're charging you on your loans? 20%, 10%, 15%? Well, how the hell are you ever going to grow a savings there? You can't. So what are you going to do? You're going to go over to the stock market. Well, guess what? You find out they're stealing from you in the stock market. So, growing wealth, other than just buying, or working, it's impossible. Well, God, this is so stupid. So now, if you guys keep looking at it, this is why Powell said he had no answers. Because look at the way our economy works. These guys are still going to keep funneling money out. Taxes are going to keep coming down here. Middle class is going to keep going and going and going. Well, guess what? Eventually, you're going to have this. This is going to be literally your economy. You're going to have your lower class. And you're going to have one line and one line again. And now guess what you guys have? Slavery. Slavery through, what did I tell you guys since day one? You have slavery through what we call debt. 2 ways to enslave a nation. The sword, beat them up, do a use of force, and you enslave them. Or you enslave them through debt. You make it to where they can never do anything but do it by your rules and by your system so they can pay that debt back off. So at that point, how are you any better than all these countries that you guys sit there and talk crap about? Oh, these guys do it by the sword. Well, yeah, you do the same thing they're doing. You just do it sneakily. Just like in our market. You guys do it in the OTC market. You guys you don't do it in the market we see. You do it in the hidden market. You use your debt. This would be your sword. There's your debt. Like I said, in every way, shape, and form. What do? They take your money that's in your bank account. They take your money that's owed on loans. They repackage it. And then they sell it. And then when it goes to shit, guess what? They don't care. The government will buy it from them. And guess what happens when the government crashes? We have fiat money, guys. Like I said, you're going to be burning that shit in a fireplace because you're not going to give a fuck. They're going to have to either make a new dollar, they have to do something else. And like I said, these 1%, they don't get it. Because in the end of the day, this is how your systematic is going to end up coming. You're going to have that. And then eventually, either these people are going to go, what the hell's going on? We need to... There's 12,000... There's 150,000 of us for every one of them. Let's overthrow them. Either that's going to happen, you're going to have your reset. Or, like I said, what else is going to happen? You have too much money. They have been stealing for 50 years. 45 years, whatever it is. It's decades. They've been stealing for decades. And guess what? They can continuously say, we don't have to tell you guys information for 12 years. Powell literally said that to you guys on the thing. After we went over all those acts. After we saw how they stole $29 trillion and they told us they only spent $1.7 trillion. It's the same thing. So, like I said, the America, the way it's designed now, you cannot kill your middle class, because if you kill your middle class, who's putting money into the economy? Nobody. Now, this middle class here, right? Now your middle class is going to be your average business owner, and then it'll be everyone else. Because why? Guess what? They're going to have to keep raising inflation, like they said. Guess what else they're going to do? They're going to raise rates. Well, guess what? It's going to be harder for all of us to go get... Who's raising rates really hurt? Us. You're, again, killing them. We got to raise rates on everything. If they're going to get houses and all this stuff, we got to raise the rates on the houses. Well, okay, so, again, you're taking money from your middle class. You're taking money from your lower class to make up for this. You can't do that forever, but they seem to do it. Am I saying it'll go to 100K? No, I don't think it'll go to 100K. But at some point, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like, Jesus Christ. Like, we cannot... This has to be the end of it. It's not like, oh, let's be the SEC. Let's sell for $400 or $500 a share, and then the week after we all sell and our squeeze happens, they're still in business and doing it again. Then what do we really change? We're literally the SEC. What we did is we made this go up here a little bit more, so guess what? They can steal it right back and put us right back in the same spot. So make sure when we do it and we all hit that sell button, they're not coming back. Because they shouldn't. They all need to be in jail. Not out on the street making the next day making another $35 million bonus. Because as we see, they got the Federal Reserve at their fingertips. They own all that. They got loopholes for the Federal Reserve. They got insurance companies that are taking on 100 to 1. This company shouldn't have been around. They shouldn't even be around. This should be gone. Dismantled. What is that? 94 to 1? Can I go take out $1 billion loan? Real quick, just cuz? What the fuck? What? Imagine if, like, think how many houses that could buy us. Think of how many houses you could take that money right there, that credit exposure, and you just went around and bought houses for all these homeless people. How many? What could we do to the homeless problem with that? You see what I'm saying? But instead, one greedy company has this in derivatives that shouldn't even exist. 94 to 1. But like I said, this has to stop now because we're all waking up. The one thing they didn't expect is a group of people to come together and not only find some secrets. Think of how many secrets we found. Think of how much stuff we figured out over the last year that fast. To the point where it's like, holy crap, they exposed so much to so many people so fast. There's nothing we can do. Like, they have to, that's why all these changes, like, they have to do something. The squeeze has to happen because they know if it doesn't, with how much we know, everyone's just going to pull out. And eventually, if you have no middle class to steal from and you're just stealing from rich people, guess what? They'll change the rules pretty freaking quick then. I mean, gold. I mean, I can't give financial advice, but like I said, commodities, real estate, land, gold. All sorts of stuff you can look into, my friend. But we're all worrying about these. I mean, I'm not trying to, like, we're worrying about real terrorist crap. We need to be worrying about the financial ones.
Daddy-o.
What just happened? Who said that? Shit's crazy, man. Like I said, alright. This is how easy. I'm going to show you guys how easy it is to make a fucking free and fair market. I can show you in 12 seconds how to make a free and fair market. Here. Wait. Too bad this is like the crappiest program ever.
Pick'em's the go.
Oh, hey, Randall. I'm live, buddy. How are you doing?
Good. I seen you were live, so I decided I was going to come bug you.
You never bug me, my friend. Alright. Now, this is how you make a free market, man. So this is the way our current market's set up. Why the hell is it all this? It doesn't need to be that complicated. What's the purpose of a market maker? To add liquidity when there's not liquidity. Well, guess what? There shouldn't frickin' be. There's no liquidity. Guess what? There's no liquidity. That's the end of it. That simple. Supply and demand. Now, if you wanted to make a free market, a fair market, this is how simple it is. You have, I don't know. I don't care how many you want to make of these. You can make as many as you want. You have 50 of these, 600, 3,000. I really don't care how many of these you want. Let's post that thing. So you can have 6,000 of these if you want. I don't really care. Pretend all these are brokers, right? As many boxes there as you want, because it's a free market, and the more boxes there, the more competition. So I don't really care how many there are. Now, you have retail, okay? You have a retail dude, and he's just chilling. He's got his phone. Now, none of us care. You guys see, how many of you have 700 apps on your phone? No one cares how many are on there. So if we had to download 7,000 of these apps, dude, for each one of these brokers to do this, I don't think we care. If that's the price we have to pay for a free and fair market, it's this simple. Now, there's no such thing that needs to be market makers. Dumb. Stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. Now you have these exchanges. Each exchange, in the end of the day, can limit how much liquidity or shares go to each one of these. Now, eventually, they'll run out. So when this guy has no shares for a stock, just like in the IEX, guess what? When he tries to buy it, that one won't work. So what's he got to do? He's got to click on this one. Well, what does that do? That would make it so these guys would have to have competition with each other. So, spreads might, would be a lot thinner. But, why would we do that? Why would we want competition in America? That's what it's supposed to be fueled off, right? We don't want competition. So, it's that simple. It's literally that simple. And guess what? You're not going to have people coming into this business making $27 billion per year. It'll be spread out by more people. So now guess what? Your 1% will be bigger. Not only that, it'll be free and fair for everyone. Institutions, people, it doesn't matter. If an institution wants to come over and they're like, oh, I got to get a giant order, they can do a sweep order and do an institutional thing. Instead of a dark pool, do a public displayed, because there doesn't need to be algorithms this way. Why are algorithms and shorts and all that made? Just so rich people can steal from us. So make it to where there's a lit pool. We'll call it a lit pool instead of a dark pool, okay? So when an institution now comes in, they'll buy this, because the only main thing about them is when they do these sweep orders is they're doing it because they don't want to get predatory attacked. So they come in here, it'll do a sweep order, and it'll just fill it as fast as possible on all these. And then a stock can just boom, like it should, because supply and demand will be limited. And all of a sudden, if a giant institution comes in, they're not going to go, well, it doesn't affect the price. What? It should just go like that then. Dude just bought 3 million shares. We should know that he just bought 3 million shares. Like I said, it's that easy. Why do you not make a market like that? Because then retail has the same advantages as the big boys. And then they're going to come over, but I'm rich and he's not, so I should have more opportunities than he does. Blow me. Blow me. You're no better than me. Money is paper, buddy. You're no more of an American citizen than I am. Like I said, shit's crazy. It's that easy. There's your open and free market. What the hell are these credit default swaps? What is this crap when people do all this? There doesn't need to be some ISDA market where suddenly, here, not only is this isn't even available to anyone. This is just banks and market makers. What? So now you have a third market that these guys get to do whatever they want?
I love you.
Oh, hey, Jackson. But you see what I'm saying, man? Everything's supposed to be free and fair, but none of it is. and then they control the media, and anyone that says anything
I'm actually
about
gonna
this.
link you something. I'll link it on your Discord right now. You should check this out because this is what I'm diving into right now. I sent it into Discord DM.
But you see the difference? Look how easy it is. You just have the brokers instead of a market maker. Instead of this market maker having the ability to fill liquidity any corrupt way that he sees fit. Like I said, this stuff's crazy, man. It's all linked together. It's literally 2008 times 15. Government's just propping them all up, using the same tactics they used in 2008 with the repo. It's the same thing, dude. But it's 65 times what it was back then. I feel like, you know that scene when they're in The Big Short where he's sitting down at the poker table and he's like, it's Steve Carell and he's talking to that banker and he's explaining the CDOs and he's explaining like synthetic CDOs. He's like, what is that? And then it zooms in and it goes, this is that exact moment when he realized the entire economy is going to crash. The entire world economy. Because this is all attached to, this is all through ISDA. And you guys, when China goes down and China defaults on that, these banks that I just showed you are fucked. It's over. They're fucked. Like I said, our world is propped up. All the world. How can the entire world economy, every single one of them, be in debt? Every single country is in debt. Think about that. Why are they all in debt? They're SCD swaps. These are basically, they're being banned in Europe, or they're trying to ban these in Europe. There's another credit default swap, but it's backed by a government. And this is how these governments are getting in debt. So it's like, thank you, Grandpa. So this is another way how these countries are getting in debt, through these credit default swaps, and they can do naked credit default swaps on these, so they can literally naked short other countries. Like, think of how insane that is. You can naked short other countries through these. Like, what is going on, man? So yeah, if you guys want to look up these as well. But this is what's funny, because if you guys look it up, like anybody that talks about these, that is in defense of these, like, naked credit default swap, they're good. The only thing that they say, they're like, yeah, it poses systematic risk. And yeah, it promotes gambling, blah, 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 but it provides liquidity to the market. Who cares? So you give liquidity to the market when it's not there? So you basically make up fake money? So what? They can open a... Think about this. In a short position, you open a short and you get instant access to money. Think about that. Think about that, you guys. What would you do if you had instant access to money at the tip? Just that, like, whoa. Crazy. So what are we doing by giving them? They're making up money as they go. So they're making up some magic piece of paper that they could burn in fucking data fires. They burn in warehouse fires, and they get instant cash. And it's all in stuff we don't see. And since they've been able to do that, there's $612 trillion that should not exist in the entire world that is in their bank accounts. You see what I'm saying? It's insane. Thank you, Silver. Appreciate that, my friend. I mean, they literally just changed one letter. They went from CDOs to CDSs. Like, what the hell? That's it. They changed one letter and they called it a day. That's how they evolved, my friend. Isn't that nuts? Like I said, you guys, when this crash comes, I wasn't talking about the Great Reset. Because like I said, you got this crash coming. You got the bank, China, all those crashes coming. And on top of that, you've already stolen your entire economy. You've stolen your middle class and you've messed up your lower class to the point of what is, like I said, what is there going to be to take? That was, Palm, that was 6 months ago. There was 610. That was the end of June. That was, that was 7-8 months ago. Think of how much they're stealing to make it that much. So it's probably more like 625, 630. And on top of that, who knows what is going on? Because these stupid... It's the same thing. It's literally insane. These guys, where is it? I got too many things open. This one. Yeah, they passed this too big to fail principle to where they could just use the Federal Reserve as a loophole. The other, hold on, what is it? It talks about 2 loopholes in here. There's 2 important loopholes. One exempted the FTC from the least cost constraint if it fit the Treasury and Reserve determined that the failure, whatever, blah, blah, they could just use our money from the Federal Reserve. The other was the Wall Street investment banks, Goldman Sachs in particular, to help securities firm, blah, blah, what is this thing? So they extended loan collateralized by investment bank securities. And in the end, so like I said, they always find a way, and then they just keep paying these guys off. It's crazy, man. I just don't get it. So they have the Federal Reserve at their hands, and you see, like I said, Federal Reserve's balance sheet, $9 trillion, 2.9 of it is mortgage-backed securities, which are failing. So now, like I said, it's the same thing. But think how much worse this is. Before, these mortgage-backed securities were on the bank's books. Now they're on the United States books. So when they fail, our government gets railed, not the banks. Stuff's crazy, man. Like, you can't make this up. They're just, like I said, everybody that thinks that these guys were like, oh, man, we got to stop because they only have $3 trillion in hedge funds. Who cares? They throw how much of this in repos in candy. They just gave them like 20 trillion in repos. It's not like these banks aren't shorting these stocks either. Not only, look how messed up this is. So not only are the banks able to do all this stuff that I just showed you, these bankers, I guess they closed it. No. So a lot of people don't know that there's different types of dark pools. There's a whole bunch. There's like 9 different types of dark pools. One of the different dark pools is called a broker-dealer owned dark pool. And these are what banks have, okay? There's an element of price discovery in these. These things, they're banks that regulate and run their own dark pool. And not only do they regulate and run their own dark pool, they're able to trade their own stocks in that dark pool. Now think how messed up that is. So, like I said, these guys have their own permissions to do whatever they want. You got electronic market maker dark pools. Look at the electronic market maker dark pool, who operate principal of their own accounts, let the broker do blah, blah, blah. Their transaction price are not calculated from the NBBO, so there is price discovery. Think of how messed up that is. Like I said, they have all these dark pools. that have different rules. They have all this stuff that, like I said, it should not be like this. This is not what our market should look like. This should not be the structure. And we see this. We should not see 1 out of the 9 little lanes they have to fill orders. We should see all of them. There shouldn't even be a market maker. Why does he even need to be in there? Just to add liquidity when there's not liquidity, so they take on all the risk? Can you imagine if this is the bank's insurance company right here? Can you imagine what Citadel's insurance companies are leveraged? I mean, good God. Truly think about what they're leveraged. It's crazy what they got to be leveraged, my friends. I mean, seriously. Holy crap. This is the banks. I can't even imagine what the banks are now. Like, they're only leveraged this much. God, Jesus, I can't even imagine. I wonder if I could look at how much. Here, let's check this out. Oh, I didn't even show you guys this. Hold on, I forgot to show you guys this. Look at this, look at this. Where the fuck? It's on my other tabs, hold on. It's on this other side here. Alright. I have too many windows open. Give me 1 second. Way too. Here we go. Alright. Here it is. Alright, here we go. Perfect. Now, so these little insurance companies that I was talking about, and not only that insurance company, where is it? MBIA. I'm gonna worry about that one. Where's oh wait, it was not the MBIA, it was this one. It was AMBAC. Alright, so AMBAC. Ken Griffin, AMBAC. So these like insurance companies here. And then on top of that, he's got this one here too. Where is it? Hold on. Citadel. Alright, here it is. So they got these insurance companies. As you guys can see here, this dude co-sponsors. This one's co-sponsored by whatever the hell that is, and Citadel. Well, these guys are what we call these granitors, okay? These granitors were a massive problem in 2008. Why? Because they have no collateral, like we said. They're able to put up, they basically just sign anything. They never need to put collateral, no matter what happens at any point. So they're basically, if you check out who's holding the bag most of the time, it ends up being these pieces of trash. Ends up being these trashes, these insurance company things. So this AMBAC, this dude, they started this one. There's a couple other ones I can't remember, but Citadel's got a whole bunch of these things. And I can't even imagine if this is what these guys were leveraged at the time. Can you imagine? Like I said, can you imagine all these for Citadel? They're probably leveraged like 300 to 1, if not more. I can't even imagine what they're over leveraged. But yeah, if you guys see a Municipal and Infrastructure Assurance Corporation, sounds super stupid. It's big old Ken G's. Like I said, AMBAC. He's all about the AMBACs. AMBACs. Soars, of course. No way. And then Citadel got involved. So, like I said, man, they got cash to be thrown around. And I want it. Should you go to work tomorrow? Yeah, man. You just go to work tomorrow still. But you never know. Could be the last day. Think about it that way. So I hope everybody learned some things. We'll check out whatever you want, Randall, my friend. Yeah, I agree, man. The DD's been accurate. It's just we didn't think the government was gonna prop them up. We didn't think that they had all these backups. I mean, man, we're still learning. I mean, just think of the mountain of stuff we learned. Like I said, no, it shouldn't be that complex, man. If I go somewhere and I want to buy something and I give them money, they hand me that item. They don't hand me a synthetic item. Why the hell is this any different? The stock market should be no different. They shouldn't be able to just give us what they want and then give us naked shorts, North short sales, naked fucking credit default. You should be able to just naked your way into whatever, how much money you want. Like I said, it's just disgusting. Russia and Ukraine. That's going to be their excuse on why the market will crash. Is going to be the Russian one. Another other thing, what makes governments money? Wars. Our government clearly needs money right about now. We'll see if anything happens with that. Yeah, we like it, Jackson. Super chat, people be talking, or not super, people talking. You know, I love you, Jackson, my friend. I haven't seen you on. I saw you deleted your Twitter like a day or two ago. I thought you left. I was sad. Got rocking here. Yeah, if you guys want to check out this document here, though, it's 700 pages of just raw information. Put it in the chat for everybody, too. But yeah, like I said, make sure, man, because when this stuff crashes, it's going to go down hard, and we're a fiat currency, so it's not going to be worth nothing. But, again, who's that hurt? It hurts the 1%. And that's the only other thing that scares me. I'm not going to be honest. Watch, what's going to happen is these guys are going to get it so retarded that by the time we do get it, and it'll explode, and we'll get like a huge amount of money, and the whole world's going to crash down. But no, like I said, this is why we are up here. We will be first to be paid off because we're in the stocks with all the high interest. And it can trickle on down to anyone else at the end. But like I said, man, make sure you guys are safe with your stuff. Land, houses, gold, silver. Hell, the rate this is going, we could go down and buy 35, get a whole bunch of gas, man. Who knows? Jesus. Gas is insane, too. We all just need to figure out what we can do to get this over leveraged. Like, could you imagine if all of us, we go to the bank, we buy a $10,000, $15,000 car, our credit goes down, you can't get anything. Could you imagine if we could be leveraged in the billions? We could have, look at that, $6 billion. I mean, Jesus. It would take them 100 years to pay, more than 100 years to pay that off. Like, it's never going to happen. We're going to have to start fucking, it's going to end up being, game changers. getting up some solar panels. Everything's going to be going electric here eventually, and if you have those solar panels and you can sell electricity back to the city, man, that could be some cash. Just saying. Just throwing that out there, you know what I mean? And then you get that tax credit, so those solar panels pretty much get paid for. Just throwing that out there, my friends. Then you can get off the grid. Fuck the system at this point. How soon do I think the housing market will crash? Who knows, man? With that much in derivatives, the problem is with the housing market. If the government's got this much in the housing market, I don't see how they can let it crash that hard. Because look at how much money the government would lose. Can you calm my nerves or scare me worse on public, one of my brokers? Man, I don't really like public. They use market centers, and I'm just not a fan of market centers. I mean, they're not gonna screw you over or anything. They're in a cell. I just don't like it. If I can't direct route my order, if I can't tell it exactly where I want it to go, then I don't really want to deal with that broker. But I mean, man, you should be fine with public. Duck Boy loves it. Yeah, I mean, this is what's pathetic. Like, look at what we're talking about having to do, you guys. We're talking about having to go back to stuff, like, go back to solar panels, get land, get stuff that was, like, our grandfathers talked about having to do way back in the day. You know what I mean? Why is our technology 175 times better than it was, but our grandparents lived 175 times better than we do? Oh, it's because rich people didn't steal everything back then. There was no American stock market back then where they could just funnel all their money away from them. They could actually build generational wealth. No way. I mean, isn't that crazy? Like, Jesus Christ, man. Eventually, we're all going to have to be living on farms at this rate. I mean, that's all I can see is us having to go back to the gold standard or something. Because, like I said, when this crashes, I don't know what else. This is what I think's going on. Is the government is waiting until they get all these See, what's going on is and all these credit default swaps and all this stuff. This is going to start being monitored with these new these new ISDA rules coming up. They want to centralize clearing, so these guys aren't able to clear this stuff and just do whatever they want. And I think what they want to do is wait to let all this stuff happen to where they're like, all right, instead of having, the 2008 crash times 12,000 come up and we have nothing in place like last time other than, hey, we got to bail these banks out. They want to make it so it's like, all right, well, this time it's actually fixed and, they'll still need their bailout, of course, but I don't even care about those banks. Fuck them. Those central banks, fuck them. We don't need them. Who cares? If they go under, fuck them. We can all go to another bank. It's not. This is the thing that pisses me off, and you see it even like with the YouTubers and shit. Nobody should be too big to fail. If somebody turns their back on you, if somebody steals from you, if somebody goes against what they've believed in the entire time while you followed them, just because you followed them at one point, it doesn't mean, like I said, don't just let people off the hook like that shit. Like, that's crazy. People just let stuff like that blow by. They let people walk all over them, and they just forgive that easy. And it's like, nah, man. Realize who gives a fuck about you in this world. You're only here for a limited amount of time, man. And if that shit's getting stolen from you by these corporations, they shouldn't have this much power. We got to do something about this shit. It's sad that the world's the way it is, but guess what? In every era that we've been alive, everybody's had to go through some kind of problems. Well, our kind of problem is motherfuckers are stealing from us. Motherfuckers are stealing from us and then making us pay for it in taxes, and they're stealing from us on top of that by saying, all right, I need your paycheck, I need taxes on your check, I need taxes on all the items you want. Oh, and by the way, dude, you need fucking property taxes. Whatever we can do, we gotta raise it, man. All those gotta go up. Why? Cause Ken Griffin just funneled another $50 billion out of the states. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude, it's crazy. And then, like I said, what the fuck? The average home sale has increased by $93,000 in the last 2 years. Think about that, you guys. Like I said, they're stealing from you. They know this shit's gonna crash. So what are they doing? They're raising it and getting every last penny out of us. And then on top of that, you got BlackRock buying up every fucking house they can see. Why is BlackRock buying all the houses and all that? They're buying it all because they know a crash is coming, dude. And then they need to buy commodities. They need, well, there's not enough gold and all that stuff in the world for these institutions to go and buy all this stuff and hedge. So what are they going to do? They're going to hedge, buy commodities. They're going to get land. They're going to get houses. They're going to get renters for the rest of their life. Why? Because that's income no matter what. Because the second the person dies, you pop someone else in their place. And no matter what, you still got the house, you still got the property, you still have the asset. Oh, I couldn't even imagine LA, Jackson. Honestly, your guys' houses are ridiculous. And you know what's crazy, Jackson? You think that's bad? If you look up in Canada, Canada's housing market is insane, dude. ETC to align closing price with NASDAQ. ETC to align to close price. That ETC thing is really no big deal, man. Like, that ETC thing, if you guys know about the closing auction, it's pretty much just they're going to take all the orders from the closing auction and LOC orders at the end of the day and basically just match them up for like 5 minutes after at better liquidity, at better price. It's not that big of a deal. Like, it's pretty much institution to an institution only. They can't touch retail. They can't. And a lot of people are asking me, like, well, what happens if an institution... Okay, you guys think about it this way. People are always, well, what if an institution looks at him and goes, here, I'll help you out and do that. If an institution is going to sell in after hours, these guys have clients too. They're not going to look over and go, well, you know, I could make so much more because it's so much volatile in after hours. So they can make a killing compared to waiting to go, all right, now I'm going to sell you these all at a set price when I could watch that volatility just skyrocket as you're demanding shares. And then they get all that extra money. They're not just going to give that up. They still have clients. They still need to do all this stuff. Like I said, they're not going to go over to more guys that are over leveraged at 196% and go, all right, I can make 15 million that I know I can get, but I'll borrow you an extra 10, 20. They ain't going to be able to afford it. They're going to be so already under. It's going to be bad, my friends. It's just crazy, man. It's like what is the one thing Al Capone did wrong? Apparently, he didn't pay his taxes, and he hated the government. Well, what the new bank mafia did is they befriended the government and paid him off, and basically made him join it. We got him running drugs. We got him burning buildings. We got him taxing people to protect us. Like, what else is it? What's gonna happen next, man? It's crazy. Unbelievable. Thank you, Flappa. Just remember CDS, everybody. Don't forget that. Naked credit default swaps. Naked CDOs. Yeah, Al Capone wasn't using condoms. He was out there. He was out there doing his thing. No one could tell him what to do. I mean, that's like I said. The one problem with our entire financial system is it's all basically on trust me, bros. And like we said, the one person, if you go against it and you actually try to expose corruption or say anything, guess what? You just get fired. Or on top of that, you're not going to want to say anything because guess what? You're going to want to try and get a job with these guys down the road. It's like, what the heck? What a world we live in, my friends. Spies going down. Yeah. What's up with the 3-3? I don't know, man. I honest to God have no idea what they was talking about. I have no idea what he's talking about in any way, shape, or form. I don't know any regulation that passes on the 3rd. Does if you're in chat and you know what regulation he's talking about that passes on the 3rd, write it in there and I'll go look at it right now. And I'll tell you if it's going to affect anything. But I don't know any kind of SEC filings. What the fuck is it? Whoa. Oh, he said it was a transparency thing. He said, let's do 03. SEC. I think it was a transparency file. I can't remember what the type it was. What was it? So any fractals? Yes, this is live, Diaz. I don't know exactly which one. There's so many transparency rules going on. I don't know. They have to clean up their books or else what? What? Who has to clean up their books? Hedge funds? I don't know, man. Like I said, I don't know what he's talking about, my friends. I honestly don't. Transparency was 4 to 6 weeks after the SEC meeting. That is after the 3rd. We should be happy to sell at 200. That's hilarious. It couldn't even reach GameStop now. That's where we're at. Oh man. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what he is really looking at, to be honest with you. No. Well, we'll see what this transparency really does. This transparency stuff. I mean, the problem is most of this should have happened anyways with the SEC and the CAT system. So the SEC should have already been seeing this stuff. Are we gonna see more stuff on it? I guess I don't know. We'll see more. Unless I see more is the swaps and stuff like that, I guess I don't care. But that's coming also. That's coming real quick. I can't remember what date. I have that on my thing. It's on Randall's. They're doing Randall's got it up here. These whatever. He's got they're there. These is the rules. These changes here are what are going to be bigger than those transparency ones for the SEC. I don't really know. Like I said, we'll see what happens with that. they'll just keep using more ISDA contracts to get around that anyways. So plus, I'm sure what the SEC will do is put Hester Pierce in charge of it. She'll let them know what's going on for sure. Hester Pierce. I'll be watching the chart during the MOAS. I hope so, man. That should be the only time you watch that chart, though. Hi, Aiden. How are you doing, my friend? SEC is a joke, man. They're all a joke. They're all in it together. Like we said, and then anyone that goes against them, they just get fired the day after. It's so fucking messed up, dude. I didn't even read the rest of this. I like how they're talking about like, the repo, and they're talking about like, oh man, these guys are taking $30 billion, but yet now that it's at like set 1.7 trillion. Look at this shit. It's crazy. I wouldn't worry about brokers paying you. You should be paid out. I mean, the only way is if they do stuff with their clearing. Just make sure that your broker, or look at what clearing house your broker uses. That's why I recommend Fidelity. You can direct route your trades. You can get out of the OTC market, and Fidelity has their own clearing house. So if you have Fidelity, you are definitely should be fine. Thank you, Pam. She's got about 4 more weeks of treatment, hopefully, and if that doesn't work, we gotta do a bone marrow transplant because it's in her white blood cells. So how crazy that is. Goldman Sachs took 38% of the repo. If you guys are in Goldman Sachs, I'm just gonna say get out of it. They're garbage. Not only are they garbage, they're so over leveraged. If you're in Goldman Sachs, you're literally in a ticking time bomb. I'm not a big fan of computer share, to be honest with you, my friend. The new CAT system update, it takes place in, I think it's like 2 more months, man. And that CAT system update, that's going to be the one that's going to add your customer ID, the employer ID, or so your broker ID, your customer ID. If it's a company, it'll add their company ID, their EIN number. So now they'll be able to 100% track any kind of short ladders, and if they're doing nakeds, and they'll actually show them who's doing it. So as you guys see, when the test server went up, actually the test server went up about a month ago, short interest started driving up quite rapidly. So I think it's going to be a lot harder for them to do a lot of that stuff. The CAT system's already going to do everything that ComputerShare needs us to do, my friend. And then when it comes time to sell in ComputerShare, you're going to really regret it. Should we check out the Q1 numbers right now for the box offices? And see if they got updated. We're at 650 mil. Let's go. Make sure you guys go see Uncharted. Go see some movies. You should talk about that too. What are we talking about? Sungmin, what do you want me to talk about? How much of GameStop's in it? I don't know. There's a lot of GameStop and computer share. Was a lot. But that's the thing. If you do if too much go into computer share, you'll lose too much liquidity, and then they can delist you from the stock exchange. Why would you even want to risk that? I'm not a big fan of the computer share. I'm not going nowhere after the MOAS, man. There'll always be corruption to expose. I'll just move from the stock market to something else unless they fix it. I would say yes. The Great Depression is on the horizon. Or a reset of some kind. Like I said, I don't see how there's any way around it at this point, unfortunately. Because you know our corrupt politics, they're not coming in to help us. They're going to keep helping them out. Like I already showed you, you don't have the middle class anymore. You have no more middle class. Everything's been stolen from them. So you have no more money going back into your country. Which is why everything's just derivatives, credit swaps. That's why there's 610 trillion in there, because they don't even have enough money anymore. It's just like everything's fake. Everyone owes everyone. It's fucking insane. Al was nuts the first time I ever talked to him, and he told me it was going to go to $1 million a share, and I was retarded if I didn't think it wasn't. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? It's not going to go to $1 million a share, and then he went down to 100,000. Public uses Apex. I would probably get out of there, man. I would definitely be getting out of there, Grandpa. Apex is not good. Ask Robin Hood. Definitely, probably, if anybody's in the... You gotta be getting out of them. Clearinghouse matters just as much as your broker. This reset doesn't exist. This reset's gonna be us figuring this shit out and putting our foot up their asses. That's how everything in life is fake, man. We're living in the fucking Matrix, dude. Yeah, Weebles uses Apex. Weeble uses over the counter market and payment for order flow. So if you're in Weeble, I wouldn't even. I'd get out of them too. If you can't route your trade, then you should probably switch to that broker. Always order lit exchanges. If you can't, you're on a bad broker. A lot of them do use Apex. That's why the only broker I ever recommend is Fidelity. Yeah, I saw that anonymous video. I think that anonymous video was more to promote that coin, though. To be honest with you. How big is the derivatives market? Look at this, you guys. The derivatives market in the world, gigantic, often estimated over $1 quadrillion. How can it be that large? Every possible type of investment asset, including equities, commodities, bonds, currency. Question rate of them can if they self-clear. Yeah, you're fine. Anyone that self-clears, dude, you should be fine. If they self-clear, they're on the hook for everything. So they're not gonna clear. They shouldn't clear shit unless they know for a fact it should go. Do I believe some sell at 300,000? No. $300K is a lot, dude. Crypto's tanking. Oh yeah, I mean that's the other thing too. Crypto's gonna go down hard. See, when this crashes, I don't really want to give out financial advice. So never mind. I'm not gonna go there. I mean, I wouldn't sell and rebuy, Barney. You can just transfer over. Because if you sell and rebuy, you're gonna have to pay taxes if you made anything, and that's just. And then to rebuy, I mean, you might lose more on rebuying too. And at that point, like I said, I wouldn't buy. You can transfer, dude. Shouldn't be that bad. Yeah, Sweden. I mean, I know you guys can use Interactive Broker too, and they'll let you direct route. But I don't know who clears them off the top of my head. I've already shared my thoughts, man. I've been talking for like 2 hours on my thoughts. I'm just answering questions now, man. Do you have a plan after the squeeze and banks closing shop? I got all my stuff in the credit union that's not involved in ISDA, so make sure your money, like I said, when you get that money, make sure that you put it in a safe place. Not in any of these banks, and you'll see plenty of reports where people put money in these banks and they just straight take it. I'm gonna, once I get it in my credit union, I'm gonna buy it. Like I said, the things that I feel will be an asset: land, real estate, gold, crypto that I think retail will like, because eventually retail will. If we have all the money, we're gonna be the ones that will be able to move crypto, and we'll be able to move stocks pretty hard. So getting the blue chips, crypto, they should all drop down. Once it crashes, there's a whole bunch of ways to make money on the way back up. But like the credit unions, there are credit unions that are in ISDA, so make sure just double check. But local mom and pop banks, those will never. They're not doing nothing shady. Can you trade options on Fidelity? Yeah. Yes, you can. Bye, Jackson. Thank you for coming. No, you can't feed your family with gold, but don't need all that cash on hand. Better than putting it in a bank and making 1%. I mean, that's a thing too. A lot of people are worrying about just making, making that one play on the way up, and it's like, you guys, you know that eventually it's gonna crash down. So, just saying, when it's up high, puts on the way down aren't necessarily a bad thing. Shorts on the way. There's ways to make money up. There's ways to make money down. So I always study, but doesn't have to just be a one-time sell for you either. Thank you, Pantheon. Good night, my friend. Could this reach 10K? Yeah, I think so. But that'd be the top of the line. And that's if we all held strong and made all these insurances pay. And that's the thing. A lot of people just look at it as it's just hedge funds. You got hedge funds, you got market makers, you got banks, you got their insurances, you got the DTC. I mean, you got everyone. You got everything. Apparently, they have access to the Federal Reserve. They can print money. Like money, them finding it. I mean, they printed $29 trillion and gave and told us they did 1.7, and none of us knew. So it's there. After a squeeze, don't short AMC. During a squeeze, at the top. Oh yeah. But yeah, politicians are a joke. Politicians are all bought and paid for. Problem with the politicians is they make $200,000 and then they go make a paid speech and they get what 3-4 million, and that's their entire salary times 8. So what are they gonna do? They're gonna vote for whatever that guy that just gave them 8 times their salary is gonna do, and that's the problem. Navy Federal, I'm sure it is. I mean, any type of thing like that. It's usually backed by a government. But I'm not sure. I definitely check. You can check ISDA members. Just check out. Just go to ISDA members on Google. They'll pull up right away. Bye, Trey. You have a good day, my friend. Are we gonna hit 5K a shot? Yeah, I think we could. I've never went away from 5K. Tank into single digits. I mean, they could try, but I don't really know what that would accomplish. The only way they could do that is to make more synthetics or short the hell out of it, and that just means we're going to buy a whole bunch more. I mean, I don't really know what their end game is in the end of the day. They're just hoping that we somehow get bored, but problem is too many people have now been in this for so long, they're never going to get bored and speak, well, I'm going to just sell now at a loss or for a little bit. They gave everybody a taste, so now everybody knows that they can make a whole bunch, so they're not going to sell what less than what they could have, or at least try not to. Bye, DR. You have a good night, my friend. I don't know, man. I don't like to put a time frame on it because every time I think something's gonna happen, they end up doing some magic stuff. So I don't like to put a time frame. But the longer this takes, the more that like I said, more we're gonna make, the more fucked they're gonna be, the more they're gonna have to pay back, more IOUs. I mean, like I said, I just don't see how this ends good for the 1% in any way, shape, or form. You think those 318s will print? I don't know. What did you get on them? The SEC. Well, I mean, they hired Hester Pierce. She can see pretty good, and she uses that to vote no on the the proposals. Well, yeah, man. Until they start going to jail, they're never gonna stop. Why would they? What's gonna end up happening right now? Unless we sit there and demand it, we keep exposing stuff. We make sure that people don't just have one guy go to jail. Unless we keep on doing what we're doing, one guy would go to jail, just like what happened in 2008. This time they might spend 4 because it's 5 times as bad. I can't even imagine what's gonna happen when China's stuff goes under. When China's stuff goes under, I honest to God don't know what these banks are gonna do. They're like, I feel like the United States To honest to God, I feel like the United States might be trying to prop them up with these sovereign credit default swaps. I don't think the government wants them to let this crash. At least not yet. Look how pretty my artwork is, you guys. Like, why don't we should be making this stuff NFTs. It's like a third grader. It's hard to write with, write with your mouse on this. Exactly, dude. It's the cost of doing business, and then, come back the next day and do it again. Make up that cost of doing business in 1 or 2 hours. Oh well. Yeah, China's going down. China's going down hard, dude. China's going down maybe even harder than we're gonna go down. Who isn't with the Apex? Fidelity's not with the Apex. Fidelity's their own clearinghouse. I don't think TD Ameritrade's with Apex. And you can do a direct routing on them too. They're gonna blame this crash on that war for sure. Rick James, if you do that, you'll be a legend, my friend. How do you check if bank is on ISDA? Just go to Google and type in ISDA members. Let's go right here. Oh. That is the list there, my friend. Is TD with Apex? I don't know if they would be with. I mean, they could be, but my buddy Wired hates them, and he loves TD, so I don't think that they would be. Maybe, like, go check, I suppose. How do I see the media explaining it? I don't know. That's a very good question, man. They're gonna try and do their crap, their normal stuff, where they're like, "Oh man, that's unavoidable," and then they're gonna. I don't know. Because we're going to all scream that we were right, so I don't know what they're going to do. That's the other problem, man. Their ego, their pride, their everything's on the line. And the only other thing a rich guy cares more about than his money is his ego.